Texas football falls short on the road, volleyball prepares for conference play, and Unhooked is back. This is College Press Box. Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm Katerina Biancardi, glad you're with us. Texas regained its national prominence after defeating Notre Dame in their season opener. In week 2, the Horns dominated UTEP, but this Saturday on the road, the Horns fell short against the Golden Bears. Let's head to California Memorial Stadium for the highlights. And Hookem is ready for the first away game. The boys ready to come out hot in the icy whites. Quarterback Davis Webb looks to connect with Jordan Vesey, and sure enough he does for the touchdown. Cal goes up 7-0 and sets the tone for this offensive showdown. Tyrone Swoops is in at quarterback and hands it off to Chris Warren III, who runs it in for a touchdown. Texas ties the game 7-7. Again, Swoops to Warren, and he is not going to be stopped for the touchdown again. He was determined to get that done, folks. Texas leads the game 17-7. And Buechele looks for his buddy Ja'Cory Warwick, and sure enough, he catches it for another Longhorn touchdown. Buechele is going to try to go deep again, but this time it's not going to go as planned. California's Luke Rosenberg looks and makes the interception and carries all the way down to set Cal up for a touchdown opportunity. And on the line, it is blocked by who? Freshman Brandon Jones. This was the second block of the season for Brandon Jones, and boy, you can tell the defense is hype. And Buechele hands it off to Deontay Foreman, who runs it in all the way for a touchdown. And you're not going to want to miss this. He kisses the camera goodbye. Way to go, Deontay. And as Cal finishes to seal the deal to Chad Hansen for the touchdown, California beats Texas 50-43. And our very own Jessica Robinson reports on what this loss means for Texas.
Starting off the season with a strong 2-0, number 11 ranked Texas lost their road opener at Cal Berkeley.
2 home wins and then coming out on the road, it was just that, you know, we had to have our team better prepared what we did, and we didn't.
You're 3 weeks into a new scheme, a new offense, so we just want those guys to continue to grow, know what we're doing better, understand it better, and just play with a strong confidence and a belief.
Whatever they do, we just got to go put points on the board. I feel like we did that, but we could have put more points on the board. We just didn't. At times, we made bonehead mistakes.
Nicknamed Defensive Back University, Texas must shake up its defense to live up to its name.
We just got to get stops, and we just got to get stops on defense.
The secondary didn't hold up their part. I feel like everybody else did a pretty good job except the secondary, so we have to get that straightened out.
It's really frustrating, man, especially after playing, so well like last game, and we had the overtime game with Notre Dame. Defense, we made some stops, and so that's something we just didn't do today. We didn't make those stops. We didn't make those big-time stops.
It basically comes down to everybody doing their job, and when you play good teams like this, you can rarely make mistakes.
Ups and downs throughout the game led to a devastating upset. The Longhorns focus on executing assignments going into their bye week and beginning conference play with Oklahoma State.
No, the game plan, it's all about executing the game plan.
When you play good teams like this, those missed assignments come back and bite you.
I mean, I think it's a good thing that happened early. We know that our season is a Big 12 play, so we just got to go back, get this plan. We're going back home to Texas and just watch film tomorrow. Take coaching and continue to take coaching and get ready for conference play.
The earthquake at Cal propelled the Longhorns to fight. The eyes of Texas football are set upon the Big 12 Conference, working to claim their title. Jessica Robinson, College Press Box.
I thought we were well prepared, I think.
Football talk ahead of us, and we welcome to the studio tonight our football analysts Reese Miller and Jordan Sanchez. Guys, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great, Kat. Excited to be back for another season of College Press Box.
Excellent. Wish we were talking about a win, but lots to talk about. Maybe more so now.
Absolutely.
I can feel it, guys. It is quite sad that we have to be talking about this loss. And while some blame the loss on the coaching staff, safety Dylan Haynes says the accountability is on the players.
Yeah, I think, Dylan Haynes has his coaching staff's back, right? I think that's the players' jobs overall. But, I think this is a little bit on both. I think Charlie Strong talked about this morning in his press conference that the coaches didn't do a good enough job of putting the players in positions to make plays. I mean, Jordan, in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, first half as well, there were busted plays where there weren't any Texas defensive backs even close to any of the wide receivers, especially not Chad Hansen. So I think this falls a little bit on both, but either way, they're on pace right now through 3 games to have the 4th worst defense in Texas history in terms of points per game. So something's got to be fixed.
Yeah, and also Charlie Strong is a defensive-minded coach, Reese.
Yeah.
And he did it at Louisville. I think this first 2 years at Texas, he's really had to focus on the offense. Let's face it, hasn't been there. So now we're just waiting to see, is Charlie going to get Texas defense where they need to be?
Yeah, and at Florida as well, that's how Charlie has risen through the ranks. And, that's supposed to be his side of the football. Everybody says he's really involved in that, but we just haven't seen that to this point. And that's why many think he should take over play calling or at least be more involved on the defensive side of the football.
Right.
Absolutely, guys. And that is what Coach Charlie Strong said earlier today. Guys, but the defense gave up more than 500 yards and over 50 points against Cal. The front 7 have improved, but the secondary has holes to fill. Coach Strong says he and the coaching staff are to blame for the poor performance. Guys, does defensive coordinator Vance Bedford need to be removed from his duties?
I think there's a lot of things you have to look at first. Davis Webb, you got to keep in mind, this guy is second in the FBS when it comes to passing yards. He's got over 1,300 in just 3 games. That's pretty crazy. Actually, Texas, this was his fewest number of passing yards in this game with 396. So he is an elite quarterback, but you also got to keep in mind, this is Texas football we're talking about, and there's a standard.
Sure. And I think my biggest issue is with the defensive backs. Dylan Haynes is still on the football field. There's obviously better talent below him. I think anybody can see that. Brandon Jones needs to be playing. Deshaun Elliott should be playing. I'm not ready to fire the guy. I don't want to call for anybody's jobs, but Charlie Strong should be taking over this defense. He should be a lot more hands-on. Made the switch from Sean Watson last year. Didn't work so well for the offense to the transition of Jay Norvell. They've got their offense figured out now. It's time to get this defense figured out. Charlie Strong needs to be hands-on, needs to remove Vance from those play-calling duties, in my opinion at least. There's just no pressure. Malik Jefferson hasn't been the playmaker we know him to be.
Right.
And so the players aren't in position to make the plays that I think they're expecting to make. And quite frankly, the secondary looks like it's gotten worse with those young players from last year.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, guys, with the pass behind them, Coach Charlie Strong said earlier that the team aims to refocus heading into conference play. So Texas has the week off, and before beginning conference play on October 1st, where the Horns will face the competitive Oklahoma State Cowboys, how does Texas need to prepare? Reese?
Well, I think they saw a little bit last Saturday night late, of what they'll see this next week. Mason Rudolph and the Oklahoma State offense can really put up points. We'll get more into that next week, but I think they've got to figure out this defense. Charlie Strong said this morning that, look, we've got 2 weeks to evaluate where we're at. I think that means we have 2 weeks to totally try to fix this defense before conference play begins. I think the offense has proven it's been fine. You should put up 43 points and expect to win. So the next 2 weeks, address the defense, get ready. They've got 9 straight games, no more bye weeks to finish the year, and see if they can make a run in the Big 12. It's pretty amazing. I think we were all thinking undefeated, maybe 10-2, and now it looks like there's a lot of toss-up games and should be plenty of shootouts in conference play.
And you just can't, looking at the offensive standpoint, you can't put up over 500 yards of offense and still lose a game. So defense definitely has to step up. Also, self-inflicted wounds. Texas is averaging 89 yards a game just in penalties. You can't accept to, perform at that caliber and have that going on. But I will say, as we get ready to look forward to conference play, Cal, almost a clone, I think, of what they're going to see in Lubbock. You've got that air raid offense, a defense that really struggles against the ground game. So it's just a little taste of what conference could be.
Absolutely.
Guys, Texas remains in the top 25, sitting at 21. We will see how the Horns refocus in the next 2 weeks. Thanks, Jordan and Reese. Fantastic analysis as always.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
Travis.
Kat.
When we come back, we'll take you to Mike A. Meyer Stadium, Gregory Gym, for some volleyball and soccer. Keep it real, keep it here. This is College Press Box. Welcome back to College Press Box. I'm Katerina Biancardi with Emily Stone. Let's get right into talking Texas sports. Texas volleyball hosted longtime rival Texas A&M. The Horns swept the Aggies in 3 sets. Tyler King has more on the victory.
The Texas Longhorns and Texas A&M Aggies volleyball teams met here at Gregory Gym for the first time since the 2013 NCAA tournament.
For most players on the team, this is their first time getting to face the rival Aggies, including senior Paulina Prieto-Sarame.
It was really cool. I didn't think that I was going to be able to be part of that rivalry and that game, but it was definitely a great night, and our crowd was awesome, and I think we did a really good job of just, keeping the emotions in lock, even though they were pretty high.
I just thought it was a great feeling. Our fans came out tonight. They showed the support, and it just shows how much the rivalry is to our university, and it's always great to play Texas A&M. They're always a great team, and I don't know, it's just always nice to come out with a W.
After the game, head coach Jared Elliott was happy with the way the team served, and especially with freshman Autumn Rounceville.
The one thing I like about Autumn is she's a very steady young lady for a freshman, and nothing phases her. So she can miss a couple serves, and then she sticks it right on the same kind of routine. And she got to go in there at the end of game 2 and game 3, and she's been scoring some runs on us and doing some good things all the way through this preseason so far.
Texas would go on to win the match in 3 sets. The Longhorns will now hit the road to begin conference play at West Virginia and Kansas this upcoming week. From Gregory Gym, I'm Tyler King, College Press Box.
Texas volleyball fell short Sunday in a thrilling 5-set match against number 6 ranked Wisconsin. Although 3 Longhorns registered double-digit kills and led the 2 initial sets, Coach Jared Elliott says the team did not execute when it mattered most. But Elliott emphasizes an early loss like this is beneficial for the team. The Horns are now 8-2 on the season and will open Big 12 conference play in Morgantown, West Virginia, as they take on the Mountaineers on Tuesday.
Texas tennis has been keeping themselves busy during their fall season. The men's tennis team kicked off their season this past weekend, taking home 10 wins during the Porsche Napa Valley Tennis Classic and the Racket Club Collegiate Invitational. In women's tennis, the Tarati sisters both qualified for the main singles draw at the UTSA Pro Circuit, and the sisters will compete this week on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Number 1 men's golf finished in 7th place on Sunday at the OFCC Fighting Illini Invite on Sunday. Senior Gavin Hall finished 3rd overall. Head coach John Field says this weekend was a good challenge for the team. Texas will continue its fall season at the Nike Collegiate Invitational on October 2nd through 4th at Colonial Country Club.
Women's soccer had a defeat this week against UCSB. Our very own James Grachus was at the game. Let's head over to Mike A. Meyer Stadium to check out the action.
Texas soccer took down North Texas on Friday night, but on Sunday they had 2 new opponents: the unbeaten University of California at Santa Barbara and the Heat. Freshman Sierra Henson struck early to give Texas a 1-0 lead, but from there, Texas was on the defensive. Paige Brown stepped up with a huge save, but couldn't keep everything out as UCSB tied it early in the second half. The Heat, which had an index of almost 110 degrees, looked to be having its effect.
But we certainly weren't wanting to sit back. We wanted to make sure that we made it hard for them to keep the ball, and in the end, our patience gave us a lot of turnovers. So that's just kind of a tactic of the game.
The conditions are a factor in the way Angela Kelly's squad plays the game. In the Heat, the Longhorns were perfectly happy keeping their defensive shape and playing off the counter. Despite an early second half hiccup, the discipline remained, and eventually the well-rested Longhorn forwards got their chance. That chance came to the freshman Takora Turner. She took the through ball on her left foot and struck it home with confidence. You guessed it, off the counter.
That's kind of the whole rhythm of being a forward. You have to wait for your opportunities to, when you get the ball, and you have to take it when you can and when you can't. So I think that I was just thankful for the ball that Lex played me because it was a great ball, and I was able to turn and go at them and score.
Coach Kelly's player of the game, Julia Deitch, nearly doubled the Longhorn lead on a booming free kick. But given the Longhorns' sound defensive structure, the second goal ended up being enough for the win, going into a massive Big 12 weekend where Texas faced Baylor and Oklahoma away. Reporting from Meyerfield, James Grachos, College Press Box.
Up next, we have a new installment of Unhooked. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, I'm Mackenzie Palmer, and this is College Press Box Unhooked. It was certainly an interesting weekend in college football. Ole Miss almost pulled off a 3-year winning streak against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Oklahoma Sooners lost their second game this season against Ohio State Buckeyes, putting Bob Stoops' career in jeopardy. And the same fate could be met for Les Miles, whose team, LSU, barely pulled off a win against Mississippi State. Unlike Cam Newton in the Super Bowl, let's dive into this week's biggest news.
The action-packed weekend started Thursday night as the Houston Cougars held off a tough Cincinnati team to move to 3-0. Despite a strong showing for most of the competition, this was the biggest loss for Cincinnati since Harambe. Rest in peace, champ.
Rest in peace. And perhaps the biggest surprise this weekend, Louisville's absolutely hammered number 2 Florida State 63-20. Not only was this a huge win for Louisville, but Lamar Jackson has all but guaranteed himself as the front runner for this year's Heisman. Although, if Jackson keeps up these great performances, he risks the career-damaging move of getting drafted number 1 overall by the Browns.
Iowa lost a heartbreaker on Saturday, losing 23-21 to North Dakota State on a dramatic field goal as time expired. The loss saw Iowa's hopes for the college football playoff disappear faster than the food off of Brett Bielema's plate.
As for the SEC, LSU held off conference cellar dweller Mississippi State by the score of 23-20. While it was certainly not a convincing win for the Tigers, Les Miles is still proud of the fact that surprisingly no one was rested this week on the team.
After Oklahoma was blown out 45-24 at the hands of Ohio State, Bob Stoops has landed in hot water amid terrible play and 2 early losses. Personally, I haven't seen such a waste of this much talent since Suicide Squad.
Oh no. In the SEC headliner, Alabama battled back from a 21-point deficit to defeat rival Ole Miss by a final of 48-43. Sabin was beaming with joy after the hard-fought win.
Following their loss, Texas has dropped to 21st in the AP poll, meaning that Texas has spent less time in the top 20 this year than Bevo 15 has spent in puberty.
Speaking of Texas's dramatic fall, what other big shakeups have occurred this week's rankings? The biggest jump by far this week, Miami University moving 10 spots all the way from 25 to 15 in their win against Appalachian State, started from the bottom, and now they're here. Louisville Cardinals claimed the number 3 spot in their victory against Florida State, dropping the Seminoles down the rabbit hole to number 13 from last week's number 2 spot. Oklahoma ties with Florida State as the biggest loser this week at number 25, just barely hanging on. Like Bob Stoops' career, the Sooners dropped all the way down from number 14. Thanks for tuning in to Unhooked with us. Coming up, we'll talk this week's Longhorn sports. Stay with us. Sorry.
And thanks for sticking with us on your Monday night. This is College Press Box. And let's see what we have in Texas sports later this week. On Tuesday, volleyball at West Virginia. Thursday, men's tennis at the Cajun Tennis Classic. And on Friday, soccer at Baylor at 6 p.m. Women's golf and men's and women's tennis find themselves on the road. And on Saturday, volleyball versus Kansas. Women's golf and men's tennis and women's tennis also still on the road. And on Sunday, soccer at Oklahoma. Big rivalry there, folks. And women's golf, men's tennis, and women's tennis continue the rest of their competition for the weekend. And before we go, folks, we had a crazy ending to the Cal game. Safety Dylan Haynes comments on what he thought about it.
I saw you dropped it close, and obviously you know that players do that sometimes. So I kind of jogged over there and picked it up and kind of looked at, kind of felt everyone around me to see if anyone else was like diving forward, if anyone else saw it. So I picked it up and kind of turned, and I thought about running it, but the ref kind of looked at me and said, give me the ball. I don't know if he thought I was like trying to do something with it, so I tossed it to him, and that was the end of it.
And that's all the time we have tonight on College Press Box. Catch us every Monday night at 9:30 and follow us on the Twitter for Texas Sports at College Press Box. For the best sports debate on the 40 acres, watch College Crossfire Wednesday nights at 9, hosted by your very own Bruce Miller. All our shows are on YouTube, and a big special thanks to everyone in Master Control and in the studio for making this live event happen. Until next week, I'm Katerina Biancardi. Have a wonderful night.